What's up, everybody? Geoff Cooper here. Welcome back to Blue Collar Heathen on YouTube. Today we're going to be sitting around and we're going to be discussing the supernatural and how it might work within a work of fiction with horror author Robert Ford. Bob is the author of The Compound, Last Firefly of Summer, No Lipstick in Avalon, and his newest, with Matt Hayward, A Penny for Your Thoughts. Bob has been a friend of mine for just about 20 years. And one of the most lovely human beings on the planet. Before we get to that discussion, just wanted to give a quick overview of what I hope to accomplish through this series. I will be sitting around and discussing the supernatural and various aspects of it with a number of horror authors. Because, well, for a couple of reasons. First off, these are the people that I have access to. It's a field that I know a little bit about. And, well, they're all local. So, that works out for me. My life would be much less rich without the supernatural horror tales. The people like Arthur Machen and Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, the golden age of the weird tale during the Farnsworth Wright, when he was running or editing the magazine Weird Tales, where you had the works of H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, Manly Wade Wellman, E. Hoffman Price. These guys, their stories were essential to my life. I've dropped a lot of money chasing those books, chasing some of those old books. And I've always got a lot out of it. But I've always had to suspend my disbelief when the supernatural was evoked as a technique to move the story forward. It's necessary. Because the supernatural, it's fiction. Whether that is in a short story, or a novel-length work, or even in Holy Scripture. I think that we'll, through this series, find the techniques and some of the ways that authors use to keep your interest and to suspend your disbelief. Suspending one's disbelief is essential to enjoying the supernatural tale. Whether that manifests as, the magic of Harry Potter, or the zombie apocalypse of Brian Keene, or whatever way Tim Levin has decided to end the world this time. When we suspend our disbelief, we can ignore some of the problems that invoking the supernatural inherently creates. We can kind of gloss over some of the details, maybe not notice some of the plot holes, in order just to enjoy the story, which is fine for over the course of a story. But it's really not a way to make a worldview. Through this series, I hope to show that the supernatural is a fantastic literary device, and it's been used by authors for generations, for millennia. And we'll show how they do it. And maybe, if somebody's evoking the supernatural or the supernatural tale in Scripture, maybe you can get a little bit of a reference point of how current authors do it and how they might use it to kind of look back on somebody's favorite book of fables. Anyways, let's sit down with Bob and get this thing done. first, thanks for showing up.
Yeah,
thanks for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for
we
having
talked
me on,
about
man.
this on the phone, and it
Yeah.
was like, I could tell you were like, wait, what the fuck is he up to now?
A little bit, yeah, but at the same time, I was like, well, I missed out on so many things that you used to do in past life, and I wasn't going to miss this. So I was in. I was in, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, cool. Want to talk about the supernatural, okay, and how that relates to horror fiction, right?
Yeah.
Not so much rehash H.P. Lovecraft's essay. I mean, he already did that. It's what, 19? So that was 92 years ago.
It was a bit.
Yeah, it was at 27.
Yeah. It was,
all right,
it was
so it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have to do that again. But supernatural horror still exists. It's still a thing. Okay, and this kind of touches on some of the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so pretending that I've been out of writing for a while, okay, and my channel doesn't have anything to do with it,
sure,
other than other than this. Why don't you just give these guys just a quick summation? Now you had Last Firefly Summer.
Yep.
Compound.
The Compound, yeah.
No Lipstick in Avalon, right?
Yeah, that was.
I've known you for how long? Like 15, 20 years.
20, at least 20, yeah.
And I had to look that up because I always because we were always calling that the chicklet book.
Well, it is. So
that's all he talked about.
Things,
right?
Yeah.
So it was No Lipstick in Avalon, Compound. That's some of the more recent ones.
Yeah, Border Town.
Last Firefly Summer.
Yeah, Border Town came out last year. This year, Rattlesnake Kisses came out. I co-wrote that with John Bowden.
Okay.
And then the most recent is A Penny for Your Thoughts, a novel I wrote with Matt Hayward. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so you've been at the writing game a bit, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Not a rookie at this.
No, not anymore.
Right? No, not that young bright-eyed kid anymore. Then again, none of us are. So, with regards to the supernatural, okay, when we talk about supernatural, first, I mean, what does that mean to you? Like when somebody, like just say a publisher wanted a supernatural horror novel, what would that mean to you?
If a publisher asked me that, my knee-jerk reaction would to be the standard tropes. A ghost story, a haunted house, a poltergeist type of thing. Any that's my knee-jerk reaction to that.
Okay.
And for me, I grew up with a big Southern influence.
Yeah. Well, you're from West Virginia.
My parents, my mom's side was.
Right.
And so when I grew up, there was, I'm an only child, so I constantly grew up around, cookouts and parties and things like that, and get-togethers, listening to the stories that my grandmother told and things like that. And it was a constant seances and ghost stories and things like that. I grew up hearing that all the time.
So that's where you would be going with some type of consciousness after death.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just to flesh that out a little more, I mean, would that be? I mean, you said tropes, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not just that, but would you consider like monsters, demons, that kind of stuff? Would that fall into that for you, or is that something else?
I definitely think that a lot of monsters fall into the trope category as well. But when it comes to supernatural, for me, no, that's kind of its own other sort of category for me.
Okay.
When we're talking about werewolves or vampires, demons, that's its own thing entirely. But when you're talking about a monster or a creature of some kind, that's not what I immediately think of for me personally when it comes to supernatural.
Right.
That's kind of its own sort of a category.
Okay.
For me.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we can work with that. So most of it is for you the ghosts, hauntings, poltergeists, consciousness in some type of ability to be some type of agent acting upon reality after death.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, do you believe that actually happens?
Well, I have ruled out. I've seen a lot of weird shit in my life, but nothing for me has cemented a belief in the supernatural.
Okay.
I grew up hearing these stories over and over again. And when I was a kid, in elementary school, it was definitely the influence from my family, but I was drawn to, In Search Of. And, Leonard Nimoy, man. I couldn't fucking wait to watch Leonard Nimoy, trying to see what was going on.
Right.
And hearing about Loch Ness and, the werewolf boy and all this shit. No, I mean, I was in it. That was part of my makeup. So I grew up, being really drawn to those kind of things. But the older that I got, I've seen some kind of weird things that I can't personally explain, but my immediate reaction isn't to qualify them as, well, that was a ghost, or things like that. I believe that we are running around in this flesh vehicle of what we are.
Okay.
And I think that, underneath it all, I think we're energy at the core essence of it.
Okay.
Now, I believe that energy changes. I don't think that it can be necessarily destroyed. I think it evolves.
No, that's what I was saying. I mean, when you say changes, I mean, we're talking like, like basic physics, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, basic physics.
Okay. So, just to, how does that energy, is that where
manifest?
Yeah, well, would some equate that to, a soul, or...
I definitely think some people could qualify it as that. When you're starting to get into that, and I do not believe in religion.
Okay.
I have nothing against anybody. If it works for you, it works for you. I don't care if you, paint your poodle in the backyard on a moon-ridden night. I don't give a shit. If it works for you, fucking great. I don't care. Just don't hurt yourself or me. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe in the structured religion and the Bible. It doesn't work for me.
Okay.
It just doesn't work for me.
Structured religion, Bible, the Abrahamic bit, I can totally get that.
Yeah.
What about a paganism, or maybe some of the more polytheistic,
sure,
Hinduism, or some of the more like the Norse mythology.
More like Norse mythology or higher magic or something along those lines. And again, I think it's one of those things. If it's a Norse god, if it's ancient Greek gods, Egyptian, whatever, if that works for you, I think it's great. It fucking works for you. I think it's awesome. I tend to. I do think that a lot of disciplines have figured out a way to manipulate the energies that are around us. And I think to some degree, I think they can probably alter with intention. And, I don't think it's necessarily the words of some ancient spell. I think it's the intent with which you might say those words to apply and figure out a way to work with the energies around you to affect life.
I was saying, that seems like it's coming back to the energy thing.
Yeah, and that's why I think that, a lot of the pagan religions and we have lost more religions in the world than we probably still have left.
Sure. We've been around for what, 250,000 years?
Yeah, elder gods are dead. They're gone.
Right.
Forgotten.
Right.
So I think that, early on, I think there was probably a lot of things. If, you start looking at the ancient texts, if you start studying, and the archaeologists that are finding out, the details of what some of these ancient cultures knew,
Now, when you say ancient texts and these ancient cultures,
sure,
which ones are you?
Going back to Egyptian and Mesopotamian and beyond and things like that,
Okay.
There were certain things, Mayans, Aztecs, that these what we would say barbaric cultures, because they sacrificed, they cut heads off people, they ripped the hearts out. Yeah, okay, they did that, sure. But the knowledge that they had at the time was pretty phenomenal. You know, when you're talking about they knew about certain stars that existed, that it was impossible that they could have known this. They didn't have the proper technology. They didn't have telescopes. They didn't have these things. The star is invisible, you know, even to us today, unless we use modern technology. They shouldn't have been able to know these things. So how the hell did they know these things? You know, and
so you think that they had that there was some wisdom of the ancients which has been lost to us?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. You know, I think that, you know, as barbaric and uncivilized as we may, you know, refer to some of them, yeah, I think they had a lot of knowledge that is lost for good, you know, to us. You know, when you start looking at some of the ancient ruins, you know, how, you know, and yes, I've read the theories about laying down a bed of logs and moving blocks of stone and things like that. But when you're looking at, you know, Southern America and some of these areas, how the hell did they, you know, move a 20-ton block of sheer stone over a mountain, down the hillside, 50 miles from the quarry it was mined from, and then cut that block at perfect 90-degree angles? You know, things like that. And I think some of these mysteries, I don't think we'll ever figure out how the hell they did certain things.
So some of the like you know, if we're going to be talking like ancient Mesoamerican, like Machu Picchu. You know, like you know, you look at it, it's like definitely.
Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza.
Like how did that? You know, I mean, they did it somehow. They did it.
Somehow they did it, and yeah, absolutely.
Right? So you know, maybe we don't know exactly how that was done,
but somehow, some way, yeah, they nailed it down. And I think that there's a lot of wisdom that you know has been lost forever. You know, as advanced as we are today, yeah, we should figure out. We should know how to do this shit. Except we don't. We still have. You know, I think there's so many ancient mysteries that are there. We'll never find the answer to some of these things. You know, but yeah, you know, the beliefs that I grew up with, and circling around back a little bit. Yeah, I think, you know, energy. I think it, you know, from a physics standpoint, as you mentioned, I think that's what we are, and I think we do change. Now, how that energy manifests itself. Yeah, there's a lot of questions I still have with that.
Okay, how does energy manifest?
Well, here's the thing. The years ago, it wasn't when I was a child, I didn't buy the whole reincarnation bit. I didn't believe it. The older I got, I started seeing random clips here and there of and I forget the kid's name, but there was a young boy that, when he was about 2.5, he started drawing these pictures of World War II planes. To the point where he kept telling his dad, you know, and I think his name was like, it was a very simple name like John, but he referred to himself as John 2. And he kept talking about this plane, and it eventually, the dad pulled out a map, and he kind of pointed, that's where my plane went down. And the details that he kept revealing as this kind of thing progressed, he was revealing the day that his plane got shot down and he died.
All right, so somehow so what you're saying is somehow this child, right, modern day, knew the details of a World War II pilot.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that pilot, as they progressed, that pilot's name was the same as him. And that's why, I think it was John, and that's why he became John 2, when he started referring to himself as such.
All right, so...
Now, I don't know if I completely buy into reincarnation, but these are these little blips that pop up that made me kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit.
I mean, could it be, I mean, World War II is, you know, I mean, I don't think the kid was 2. I mean, 2-year-olds generally don't communicate that well.
No, yeah, he might have been a little older, but he wasn't in elementary school yet.
Regardless.
Yeah, it was before he hit elementary school.
Right, I mean, but still, you know, I mean, World War II, you know, it's not like it was a fucking secret.
No, absolutely not. Right.
I mean, you know, you see it on TV, it's portrayed in movies, you know, once upon a time there was, you know, I don't even know if they still have it, the military channel.
I think so.
Right.
I think so. Either that or it's combined with the History Channel now, one or the other. But yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
History
yeah,
Channel
so-
they don't even do history anymore. I mean, it's all about, what's in this fucking storage shed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Pawn stars. All right, come on, come on.
Exactly.
What's in this storage shed? Let's go rushing through some fucking podunk, Pennsylvania fucking barn. Oh, look at this oil sign. What the fuck is that doing on the History Channel?
Right.
Fuck me.
Mm-hmm.
But they're selling 16 minutes of commercials every hour. I'm not getting any of that.
Yeah.
Fuck. There you go, right there. Not good.
But no, you're right. World War II was definitely not a secret, and you know what? Maybe I'm sure the kid was exposed to it by that time.
Yeah,
like I say, he wasn't in school
I'm
yet.
sure that he was.
So
okay,
I mean, doubt.
well, that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like, what other explanations could there be before? Like, it would seem to me that we would have to go through every other available explanation that we have
before we jump to that
before we get to things that we don't have.
Sure.
Which would be verifiable, energy of consciousness transforming after death, jumping 50, 60, 70 years into the future from the point of, from the point that he was killed to essentially either influence or possess or something, a child today.
Sure, right. Now, as this kid aged, these memories started to fade for him. Now I think he's got to be close to our age, I believe.
Okay.
And he's done interviews as an adult. But he wasn't. He didn't come.
And you don't recall his name?
No. I can email it to you and shoot it. I'll do some
I'd
digging
like to.
But it was very intriguing type of little case study.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like kind of like an In Search Of episode.
Yeah. But what really struck me is the guy and the parents. None of them at any time. They weren't. It didn't seem to me that they were trying to make a buck off of this. They weren't actively seeking talk shows or things like that, or newspaper articles. They weren't actively seeking any of that. They were just.
Then how did you come across it?
Well, they weren't actively seeking it. The town that the kid lived in, if I recall, I think that doing research at the library is when the story started coming out, and word just started spreading, and eventually somebody contacted them. But I even think the actual video that I saw, I think it was just a YouTube video. But it didn't appear to me that these guys were out to capitalize on this entire story.
Okay.
Which kind of, you could kind of...
So because of that, it seemed more...
It seemed a little more legitimate.
More plausible to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. When you remove some type of...
monetary...
some type of incentive.
Gain. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But that was just one of those examples that I looked at. I was like, I wasn't really... I didn't really truly believe in reincarnation in the past, but that's one of those examples. It's like when you hear enough detail and go deeper, it makes me raise an eyebrow and go, all right, maybe that is possible.
Now, would you say that because when you talk of supernatural, if a publisher was going to ask for a supernatural thing, you went immediately to ghosts, poltergeists, etc.
Right.
Energy, consciousness, surviving after death. Okay? Could it be that your predisposition to that makes you more readily accept stories like
absolutely.
this?
Absolutely. I've already got that internal mindset.
Right.
So when I'm exposed to something, I'm already predisposed for it.
Right. Okay.
If I was younger, I would probably fall right into it. I spent some time in Philly. I know where you grew up. We're sort of natural skeptics and don't believe a readily available bullshit right away.
Yeah.
So I'm still very hesitant to dive right into to something that jumps up like that.
Right.
I love reading the headlines; they're entertaining to me.
Oh yeah, I find them interesting as well.
Right away.
I find them interesting as well.
But I don't buy that right away.
Okay. All right. What I'd like to do now, I think we have a pretty good idea,
Sure.
of where you're at, with that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what would be a setup to, like when you're writing a story? Now, I'm
Sure.
not so much like getting into, I sit here with my hands like this on the keyboard, all right?
Right.
Because nobody
Right.
but writers even pretend to give a shit about that, and writers really don't give a shit about that.
No.
They'll endure that conversation at a con so that they can get a blurb later.
Sure.
And that's the only fucking reason that anybody sits through that bullshit. I know it, you know it, everybody else knows it, nobody else says it. I'm saying it because I'm not looking for any more fucking blurbs. Okay? Fuck it, I'm done. Right?
Yeah.
So rather than that, what are some of the ways that you would try to convey that energy moving through jumping generations?
Are we still talking about the example of a publisher approached me for a new concept,
if you're all right, want to see if you're working on a book, okay, that has a supernatural component.
Sure.
Okay, it's most likely going to be consciousness surviving after death.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Some type of persistent deceased consciousness.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, how do you rectify that? Because here in Western society, most often, continuing consciousness after death is tied to some type of theology.
Yes.
How does one go and convey that without appealing to a theology, or do you find yourself falling into some of the theological tropes to get that point across? How would you do that?
I think personally I would avoid any sort of theology attached to it. When I was a kid, The Exorcist.
I knew that. This was the something.
Yeah. The Exorcist. Fucking loved it. Scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. You kidding me? When she spun her head around, I almost shit myself. I thought it was great. Today, I let my kids watch it when they were older. Didn't phase them.
Didn't phase them.
No.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to church when I was a kid. I went twice when I was total when I was a kid, and just do it. So, but nevertheless, I didn't really have a strong belief in religion even as a child. My mom did, but she wasn't very strict in breathing down my neck about it. Right. But no, I would just avoid the religion. I don't think it has as strong an impact today as it used to. Okay. I think we've just been desensitized, I think, from it. Plus we've started seeing with the advent of social media and news outlets, as our lifetime has spanned, the Catholic Church ain't been looking too good. The reps have made the news in some not really great light. Yeah. So I think the fear on the Catholic in religion, that fear has shifted not from any pissed off deity that would strike us down. It's from the guy who's feeding us communion. That's where the fear's coming from now today. Okay. So I personally would avoid that. But when it comes to the supernatural aspect, for me, when I approach my writing projects, I'm very, very focused on the character development first, and I need to know how they think before I'm starting to dig into something.
All right. So you'd make it. Okay, go ahead.
So that's kind of how I would dig in first. But when it came to the supernatural element, I would probably make my character a complete non-believer and a skeptic. I would personally have them have children. I would make them a parent. Love my kids to death, but the predominant emotion that I have since both of my kids were born the predominant emotion for them wasn't love, it was fear. Becoming a parent, I loved being a father, but having children scared the hell out of me. Because every time, when my daughter was running through the backyard, every single time when she approached the back porch, I thought she was going to trip. And all I could imagine was her banging her head or catching her mouth on the corner of the concrete and shit like that. It was a nightmare for me as a, and I'm sure it's worse because I'm a writer. I'm sure it's worse because my imagination went batshit. So, I would make the character...
Is that the right tense of the verb there?
No, it's probably kind of like, yeah, you're probably, good call, good call on that. So, but it's predominantly, but yeah, I would make them a parent.
No, I mean, I get you, because, I mean, from, with my kids, I mean, you have it is love, but it's also this, protection.
It's protection, it's worry, it's fear, it's,
absolutely.
When my ex-wife and my kids used to drive and take weekend trips to New Jersey, and leave me alone because I was working at the ad agency or I was doing writing or whatever, it was great because I'd have a quiet, 2 days or whatever. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, my entire family is on the highway right now.
Yeah.
What if that truck driver coming back from Milwaukee didn't take one last, methamphetamine to wake up?
Right.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
My entire fucking family could get wiped out in a flash.
Yeah, because this guy doesn't have enough crank.
Yeah, exactly. It's that fear. It's that constant fear. So, but no, I would utilize that fear as a parent and put it into my character and make them a non-believer so that they don't believe, this shit. I think when I approach, writing, I want to get back to the sort of small mini list of base fears that are pretty much affecting, everyone.
Okay. So what's on that? What's on that small mini list?
I think it goes back to when cavemen were telling stories around the fire. We were all scared of the dark and what might be out there. Right. For one.
Sure.
Fear of the unknown. What's out there? I don't know.
Yeah.
And when lightning broke up in the sky, they looked at that and went, I don't know what the hell that is. That's too large, it's too immense. That has to be a god. That has to be something much larger than I. Okay. So it's these things, fear of loss, fear of being alone, dreadfully alone. And getting deeper into that, fear of the really, the strange phobias. Claustrophobia, things like that, bugs, shit like that. Exactly. I'm with you, man. 100%. So it's these things that trigger a lot of people and make them just cringe a little bit and just make them uneasy.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's gotten much more difficult in horror fiction to truly scare someone. But I think that you can make them feel uneasy and unnerved. I love to play. I love to play humor and horror together. To balance that out. Because I think if you can make a character laugh about something stupid in there, I think it makes the dark spots that much more darker because there's a contrast to those emotions going on in there. Okay. And humor and horror is always balanced out.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I totally get it. All right. So what you would during the course of the story, all right, you're going to be playing with the heartstrings.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to play with the heartstrings. You bring them up here so this way, when this fucked up scene is coming, through later,
absolutely.
It's going to be a harder crash.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And I would play off the fear of something happening to their kid. Okay. Absolutely, I would push on that because I think that pushes the heartstrings a little bit more.
All right, and how does that, so if something happening to the kid, okay, how would the supernatural thing do anything to that kid? Well, how would you approach that? Yeah, what is the thing, the capital T thing? Well, what is the bad thing that's going to be happening to that kid? Because of the supernatural.
I would have to think about the setting and stuff like that, but I'd want to seclude this parent and the child as much as I possibly could. Okay. Get them away from having playmates as friends. Get them out in the country maybe, some setting, and it's been so overused for a young child to have an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
That's been so overused.
Yeah.
So, I'd have to think about how to, could I approach that and use it, but change it? If the parents went through a divorce recently,
Okay.
could the child not want to reveal that? No, she's got an imaginary friend. It's just she's not telling the parent. She's keeping that shit to herself. Because for whatever reason she's afraid to tell a parent. Maybe your parents were arguing a lot and she doesn't want to get involved in that shit. She's going to keep this friend to herself.
Okay.
How to utilize something like that.
Sure.
But I think as the parent, as long as the kid's happy and giggly, everything's cool, right? Everything's great. I hear the kid playing in their bedroom. They're having a good time. Wow, this was a really good move to come out to the country. Everything's peachy. Except it's not. And I think, to approach something like that, if the parent is still skeptical, if they're out there, their first reaction is to go to a logical explanation. That sound, that wasn't creepy. It's just a fucking raccoon up in the attic. It's something digging in the trash or whatever. And if you ramp up these events, eventually it's going to reach a point where not only the child is seeing something,
Right.
the parent sees something. And for me, whatever that first visual evidence is still just enough that the parent can easily still write that off as, no, that's not anything weird. I don't believe in that bullshit.
So pretty close to what we were just saying, all right? How would you know this? How did we rule out the other explanations? You're giving them the other explanations that they're ruling out before they can come to the conclusion.
Absolutely, yeah.
As the character in the book.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because they are a skeptical believer, and they don't buy into this bullshit.
Right.
I grew up in the city. I don't believe this shit. I'm gonna get my kid alone. Everything's great.
Right.
And eventually, I think I would reach a point where the visual evidence that they see is so utterly undeniable that they can't ignore it. It's one thing to hear. It's one thing.
So what would be one of those things? What would be one of those things that you're making up this supernatural story? I mean, you can probably go write this son of a bitch fucking done, right? So, what would be the thing? What would be the reveal? All right, where the character the reader knows the whole time. The reader knows the whole time.
Yeah, right? They're in on the kid. They know. They know what's going on. Yeah.
All right, so the reader knows the whole time.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So what's going to be the thing on page 274? Okay.
Sure.
Where they turn it, and the reader finally gets to say, "There it is, you stupid motherfucker."
Yeah, I told you.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would a reveal? What would a reveal of the supernatural look like? From you?
I mean, I would look back to myself, because you write a little of yourself on that page.
Sure.
So what would convince me, and in turn would convince my character, if I saw a full body apparition walking around, I might question. I might take a pause or something like that.
Sure.
If the child, and again, this is sort of a tropey thing. It's been so overused, but if the child found an old toy, an old journal, an old something from whatever this entity is supposed to be. I don't know if so far that would be convincing, but it's starting to inch little by little toward, okay, there's something here. What is this?
Okay,
what is this?
Where
did
that's kind of like
from?
that kind of feeds into that whole Ed and Lorraine Warren kind of shit.
A little bit.
Where negative energies are attached to certain objects and.
I agree with you on that. I see where you're going with that, but no, I meant more as a visual prop to indicate. No, this child, whatever was here, this child was here at some point.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Sure.
I'm just saying it also kind of ties into ties into that.
Yeah. They got a whole museum of that shit.
Yeah. Even though they're a bunch of fucking crap.
Well, yeah.
Showing you. All right. Well, cool. All right. So you see the character. Here's the apparition. Okay. The evidence for the character, okay, is now undeniable.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
They're freaked out. Reality has just been altered for them. Now, the terror that they had, that they realized that they should have had the whole fucking time,
Sure.
rather than the denial, is complete.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
How do we wrap that up?
For me, once that original reveal is made to the parent figure, I would continue to ramp it up even worse.
Okay.
Because then, at that point, I want to make that entity completely malevolent and angry.
Ah.
I would push it farther.
All right. So how would you do that? Like how? Like what would be some ways that would happen?
To ramp it from a visual seeing something to ramp it beyond that to now it's turned physical.
Oh. Okay.
Now the parent wakes up with scratches on them or something that extends, because now I didn't just see it. Now it's fucking with my life. Now it's fucking with my skin, my body.
So now we've gone beyond the idea. We've gone beyond the idea, the imaginary friend bit.
Absolutely.
To a visual manifestation of this, to now a physical manifestation of this.
Absolutely.
And it's not fucking pleased.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I would tend to turn that to, this entity now he's got a playmate. The child is a playmate.
Right.
I don't fucking need you as a parent in this house. I just want them. Yeah.
Okay.
And eventually, if I can get rid of you, I'm going to make sure that they stay here with me permanently.
Okay.
So that I have a playmate forever now. Yeah.
So how? So what would be a way to that? How would that entity do that?
Well, I would try to take the parent out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when they start invading their physical space, again, scratching them, doing whatever like that. Then it becomes to how can that entity alter the physical world? Is there something?
Right, because it's interacting somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So what can it do with knives? What can it do with fire? What can it do? I would have to think back about how this child was, how its life ended, and probably tie that in to how it's trying to end the parent's life as well somehow.
Okay.
To tie that in as sort of a plot loop. But yeah, I would try to get rid of the parent first, and if that doesn't succeed, I would slow that down a little bit so that it turns its attention to both of them. Because if you can't get rid of the parent, maybe it can kill the kid and it'll still have a playmate, and the parent will just leave eventually. Which puts the parent on defense.
Well, how would it be able to kill the kid and not the parent? That seems to me to be one of those. I mean that. Yeah. Here's my problem. My problem always with haunted house stories. Okay, and that's why so few of them work for me.
Sure.
Right? Is fucking move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The ones that worked.
Absolutely.
The ones that worked really got that isolation down.
Right.
The Shining comes screaming to fucking mind. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because here it is, the hotel. All right.
Yeah.
We're isolated out.
Yeah. We're snowed in eventually.
We're snowed in. We're in BFE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I. No.
Yeah.
It just seems like a.
Yeah.
Seems like a. That might be something to to work on there.
Absolutely.
Right.
But a heavy skeptic is going to deny.
Even after they have that evidence, though.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
If I saw an apparition here, I wouldn't move. I would think that's fucking cool. That's fine. Walk around, have a good time, whatever. Can you sing? Can you hold a fucking tune? I don't care. That's great. But when it starts invading and starts affecting me physically,
yeah.
All right, that's a twitch that I might have to pay attention to.
Right. So how
I'm gonna have to chill that shit out.
Okay.
But the escalation, because I think plot wise, once it hits that physical invasion, it has to ramp up very rapidly at that point, because you're right. Anybody, skeptic or not, when they realize whatever was going on, this is real. And now it's reached out and it's hurt me physically.
Right, right.
It may hurt my kid. It's going to hurt me. It might hurt my kid.
Right.
It's time to go. That's
okay.
it.
We have to pick. We have to pick up the pace.
So now it becomes all right. The plot has to quicken immensely, and there's also the how can I prevent them from leaving? Like you say, you mentioned The Shining. Well, they were screwed. They had the the snowcats out in the blizzard and they're trying to do. But other than that, they were screwed. They weren't going anywhere.
Right.
So that becomes from a plot point. How can I lock these people out? How can I prevent them from getting anywhere? So to not let them escape, because this entity has them there now. It's been so long since anyone's even been here. Of course, I'm not going to let you leave.
Right.
So no, I would definitely ramp up the pace. And one thing as a writer that I read a book, and this is Brian Keene's fault. Him and Geoff Gonzalez. We were at a
most things are Brian's fault.
It's true. We were downtown.
Jesus,
we were downtown in York at the York Emporium.
Right.
And because I used to live a block and a half from there.
Yeah.
So I was down there with them one day, and Brian pointed out this novel, Anything for Billy, by it's a western by Larry McMurtry.
Yeah, I was saying Larry McMurtry.
And
not to be confused with Tommy McMurtry, who's a special kind of dickbag, but
go.
Larry McMurtry.
So I was like, I've never read it, and I never read a lot of westerns growing up. And my family just wasn't into it, and I just never got exposed. So I took it home and read it, and started it, and man, I read till like 2 in the morning. And at one point I was like, geez, I gotta go to fucking sleep, And I was like, what sorcery shit have you done in this book that made me want to drive through this? He did this really, really interesting trick. The longest chapter in that entire novel, it's gotta be about 1,200 pages. They are so incredibly tight as chapters. And he left
the chapter's 1,200 pages?
Oh, yeah.
The chapter's 1,200 pages.
Each chapter.
1,200 words, maybe?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 1,200 words.
I'm like, 1,200 pages, dude.
I wrote over 52,000 words this month. I'm a little fried on it. But yeah. So, but yes, about 1,200 words per chapter. And
so like 3 or 4 pages.
If that. I mean, it was insane. But he left every chapter with a serious hook. And man, you could not wait to get to that next one. And I looked at that and started applying some things to how I approach. And
as the pace picks up,
oh, absolutely. I start tightening those things like a ratchet.
The sentences get shorter.
Absolutely.
Right. Where you get a fewer, more hard consonants at the end.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And because you want the reader to feel that tension, and that approach to breaking down the chapters and breaking down the sentence structure, as you talked about there, that whether they know it or realize it or not, it's there. Right. And it does create an effect on them as a reader. Right. And so I would certainly start tightening the chapters, tightening things like that, throwing some things in, absolutely. Okay. Whether or not the parent could actually end up defending their child, I don't know. I guess it would depend on how I felt when I got to that chapter. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool.
And I grew up, on a farm, and I remember what the barn that my grandfather had used to look like. There were all kind of tools and crazy shit in there.
Oh yeah, no. Great Grandpa Sherman's was much the same. Yeah.
And Gein's Wet Dream. I mean.
Oh fuck yeah, right.
So so I would start looking at that stuff, as a kid. Yeah, what would I mess around with in the barn? Where is that? Where's the body of the entity buried at? Is it still here somewhere, or is it? What? So I would start utilizing what was the surroundings and figure out what I could do with it.
So, without giving anything away, does this have a happy ending?
You've read my stuff, right?
I have.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. My immediate reaction with this is no. I probably would not write a happy ending on this one.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah. I think it would be a happy ending for the ghost kid. You know, he's probably end up with a new playmate forever.
Right.
You know, and if Hollywood got a hold of it, sure, there'd be a brand new family movie in with children right after that. To start it all over again. But no, I probably would not have a happy ending on this one.
Okay.
I doubt it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, if the first draft was rejected,
Sure.
okay, this is great, Bob, we love it, blah, blah, blah. We need a happy ending. All right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Right.
How do we defeat this supernatural thing?
Well, I have heard people and known people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention their names, but know people who claim to be sensitive to ghosts. You know.
Right.
And some of them don't want that ability. I think it would be fucking fantastic if I could do that. If they exist, I think it would be phenomenal. But the common thing for the people who don't want to have that ability is it freaks them out, and they don't want to.
They don't like being freaked out.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair. Whatever. My take on it is, if you do end up seeing a ghost, my mentality, my outlook on it is, it's stuck somehow.
Okay.
Why haven't you faded off into the whatever? Why are you still fucking hanging around here?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I would tend to approach them and ask them why, and how can I help you move on?
Okay.
Whatever else is out there,
Right. Some type of psychological counseling session.
Sure, sure. Come back as a ficus plant. Whatever. I don't care. Just move on. I don't care. Why are you still fucking with me and my kid?
Ficus plant.
So I don't care. So I would tend to figure out, okay, from the parental character, I would tend to try to have them approach and find out. Maybe it goes back to the toy or the journal or whatever the kid had.
Okay.
Because whatever it is, there has to be the resolution of how did the kid die, and why is it pissed off or whatever. Why is it still here? So I would have to kind of go through the process of the parent figuring that out, so that the kid, the entity, isn't.
Right. So then it changes. It changes the whole context of the story from this horror thing more to a.
At least the ending, yeah.
Yeah. No, but I was saying, but if you're going to have to go back to the object and try to find, go back to the object to try to make a happy ending out of this thing.
Sure.
Okay. So then you're going to be doing more of a investigation, protected,
and I would probably have to plant some things as a rewrite. I would probably have to plant some things that build up to that conclusion.
Right.
But yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And maybe the kid's buried behind the barn or something.
Okay. You realize that you've now, when we're talking about making it a happy ending, now you change the ghost to a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you weren't doing that the first run through.
I don't know. See, well, that's the evolution of shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the kid's buried behind the barn. Maybe it was an unwanted child on the farm. Maybe it was a kid born out of incest.
Maybe it was
killed. Whatever.
Maybe it was.
But whatever reason it was, I would have the parent find out what the hell the problem is, and if I was going to do it happily,
so some type of unfuckery.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So does that fall back to the unfinished business? Because what unfinished business does a child really have? Is it is it an injustice? What is it that makes that move on? What is the thing that would? What thing could we do now, today, in reality, that if these entities existed,
sure,
okay,
sure,
what could we do that would influence them in a positive way?
To help them turn into a ficus plant.
Yeah,
okay. I think it depends on what their life was like. I mean, today in the news, we see, and I know that you've had to come across some things. We see so many headlines, unfortunate headlines of children who have been abused
Mm-hmm.
or just utterly mistreated and things like that, how could we help them move on? Find out what the source of their pain is.
Okay.
Just like if it was a living person.
Okay.
Because essentially what it comes back to is whether they're a supernatural entity
Mm-hmm.
or it's a living person. Either way, you're healing them to move on.
Okay.
Get past that source of pain, whatever that is.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would think that, maybe the kid, I mentioned the weird incest thing, but, maybe it was something like that, or maybe the child's mother died from fever, whatever, years ago, and the kid was left on his own.
I just had an Oregon Trail moment.
Yeah.
You got dysentery.
Right. So maybe, maybe the child was just abandoned.
Okay.
He was too young or whatever, and ended up dying. Whatever. But no, I think it comes back to what's the source of the pain that's holding it back. And once that pain has been addressed, then there's really no reason for it to have thoughts of retaliation or loneliness to have a playmate there.
Right. So you remove the desire, you remove the need for whatever is coming across to us as malevolent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's removed, you think there could be some type of dissipation of the energy or redemption.
Absolutely.
Or is it a redemption thing? Because that's getting dangerously close to theology again.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't so much say redemption. But when you're talking, because if you're talking about a child type of entity, if you break it past that and go down to a toddler level mentality. They're going to react, you have my toy, well, obviously I can just hit you in the head and take it. There's a jealousy, there's a pure base desire at an animal level. If you apply that sort of outlook to an entity, it's going to attack the parent because you're trying to take my
because you're
away. You're going to leave.
You're taking my toy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think if you take a look at that, I think that's where the real horror elements start to drift up, because if you do that to a toddler mentality, they're going to lash out in anger quite drastically.
Yeah.
And especially if they're in this position from the supernatural world, well, it's going to ramp that shit up a notch, because historically, whatever, media-wise and entertainment-wise, they're worse. They can do really nasty things then, But redemption, no, I wouldn't qualify that, the healing process as any sort of redemption. I would think of it, and I mentioned in real life people saying that they have these sort of abilities. I just go back to questioning, if these things do exist, if you see an apparition and it's supposedly been hanging around this haunted house for 50 years.
Okay.
There's certainly a reason why. Now, if you have the ability and the talent to see entities from the other world, and you do nothing to help them at all, but you have the ability to communicate with them, you're an asshole.
Okay.
Because it's the same as if, imagine, you wonder why maybe, they have these reports of why a ghost is violent or something like that, okay? If I was a ghost and I'd been in the same place for 50 years and no one could see me, no one could talk to me, and suddenly I'm sitting around eating a Twizzler and I see somebody who has the ability to do this, and I see them and they look up and they make eye contact and actually see me. I'm not just going to go, hey. I'm going to run over and go, Jesus Christ, you can actually fucking see me. Can you help me? Because suddenly I found someone who has that ability.
Okay.
And if you are able to do that and you just walk away and freak out and run, no, you're an asshole. Sorry. You had the chance to help this thing that's been there pretty much trapped and it doesn't understand why.
Okay.
Help it move on. If you have that chance and you have the ability, help it move on. Do that. And again, if you break it down to that, stay in the same room for 50 years. you're gonna lose some shit up here. So you're gonna be, you know, malevolent. You're gonna be slightly psychotic. You're not gonna act normal.
Right.
And so, you know, I think if you have the ability to help them, yeah, I think you should. Yeah, I think you should.
Okay. All right. Well, very cool. I think that would be, you know, I would read the hell out of that. I would read the hell.
Well, you might see that.
I'd read the hell out of either one of them. All right. So, just we're getting a little long here, I think. Before we sign off, you know,
sure.
Tell these guys where they can find you, follow you, do things, you know.
Absolutely.
You know.
I am. You can find me on my website at robertfordauthor.com. Pretty much everything I've done is available on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And this summer, I think if you're into the convention scene at all, I'll be at Scares That Care. I'll be at KillerCon. I'll be at a local to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania convention called the Creature Feature Weekend.
Yeah, so that's at the end of August.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
All these are
exactly.
August, right?
Yeah, they're all clustered in August this year.
Yeah, so August is the month for horror cons this
Absolutely.
year. Yeah, because Scares is at the beginning, and then
just
the Gettysburg thing is at the end. And
yeah,
then
KillerCon's kind of sandwiched in the middle there. Yeah,
it's like the next weekend.
I think it's the weekend after. Yeah,
weekend after Scares.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this summer, like I say, the novel with Matt Hayward, A Penny for Your Thoughts, that came out at the beginning of June. And this summer I have a novella with John Bowden called Cattywampus. And I have, thanks, yeah, there you go. There's the hardback edition right there.
There it is.
And yeah, that's available in hardcover and
at finer bookstores everywhere.
And a really cool old school size paperback size.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was really awesome.
Yeah, not like the trade paper.
No,
like
exactly. Really kind of, yeah. That's
like
out by Poltergeist Press. Just a beautiful editions. And later on I have a collection of novellas coming out called Inner Demons.
Okay.
And I will have my first Russian translation. That's coming out of the
Russian
Compound.
translation.
Yeah, that's coming out. That'll be out by the end of the year.
Oh,
and
cool.
the thing I'm working on now, I'm pretty sure that will be out by the end of the year. I'll definitely have a final draft done.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a really busy year for me. So it's good stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now you also do graphic design.
Yeah. I've been involved in the ad field for a long time.
Eons.
Really long time.
Eons.
Yeah.
Eons.
Yeah.
Are you still active in that? Are you still doing that? You still out there?
I'm still involved in it. I recently, about 6 months ago, I had a transition out of running my own agency for a while, and I was involved in a corporate marketing position for about 3.5 years, and I did a great job for that. You know, won a lot of awards for marketing, and but I got fed up with working for the man, so I quit the day after Christmas and back on my own. So no, I'm still involved in that.
Because you did the logo and shit for this YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutly, for Blue Collar Heathen. Yeah. No, that was a fun project to work on.
Yeah. So it's wada.com.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So bob at wada.com if they want to catch you by email.
Yep.
And I guess that'll be that. You got any last words for him?
No, just thanks for having me on. This was a blast. Yeah.
All right,
Anytime you want to have me back, I'll be here, man.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it. He ain't got nothing else. What are you still doing here?
That's it.
Take it easy.